It's Friday, time for 10 cards rated. It's edition 234, everyone. That's pretty cool, right? 234, that's fun. First card is Skarrg the Rage Pits. Good magic card, baby. This is from Guild Pack. It'll still cost you a little over $1 to get your hands on it. It's a land that taps for 1, or if you want to be cool, a cool Kyle, I was going to say. You can pay a red and a green and tap it to have a creature get +1/+1 and gain trample until end of turn. Just wonderful. Just so having trample on a land for only a couple of mana. Fantastic. So I'll give it a I'm going to give this like a 7.5, man. We did Vault of the Archangel the other day, and that's the one you pay like 4 mana and tap it. All your dudes get Death Touch and Lifelink. And I gib-gabbed about that one for like 5 minutes. Oh, really good guy. This is a much better land. It really is, dude. Like, get anything you want through, usually is how what it translates to. Get any guy through and make him larger. It just tramples so good, dude. If this costs 4 mana, the way Vault did, it would be like way worse, but this is a pretty low cost for what you're actually getting here. So, love being able to just bust dudes through with this thing, man. It's fantastic land. We'll move on to Seasoned Pyromancer. He's seasoned. Salted Pyromancer here. Look at this Secret Lair. Look at this Secret Lair thing right here by Jack Teagle. Looks like Adventure Time art. Is that the Adventure Time? The Adventure Time artist. I assume there's actually a bunch, but this is what the card's supposed to look like. And it's $9. So, seems all right. 3 mana, 1 and 2 red for a 2/2 human shaman. When it enters the battlefield, discard 2 cards, draw 2 cards. For each non-land discarded this way, you get a 1/1 elemental. You can also pay 5 mana, 3 and 2 red, and exile it from your yard to create 2 1/1 red elemental creature tokens. So, a lot of value for 3 mana right here, man. A lot of decent. So, you pay 3 mana, and you draw, you get 3 bodies on the table. Excuse me. You get 3 bodies on the table. For 3 mana, and you also get to cast like Steam Core Scholar or Kiora Rising Tide. It's one of these guys, right? We've seen that 3 mana for a body that draws and discards 2 is just good. It's generally D's, but the exile ability like puts this over the top, dude. I feel like there's some sort of use for this that's pushing it into $10 that I'm not currently aware of. Some deck that it's really, really good in, but maybe just the fact that it does everything. You know what I mean? Like, it gets you 2 cards deeper. It discards stuff for reanimation later or for whatever you're doing with stuff in your graveyard. It puts a bunch of bodies on the table, like even when it does eat the removal, it still puts bodies on the table later. Just a really good card in terms of value. So, altogether, like a 6. I think I'm going to give this a 6 and leave it at that, but you guys let me know why it should be a 7 down there in the comments. Next is Sunder the Gateway from March of the Machine. This is 2 mana, 1 and a white for a sorcery. Choose one of these. A, destroy target non-token artifact or enchantment an opponent controls and incubate 2. Or B, incubate 2, then transform an incubator token you control. So even if you don't have a thing to disenchant, this puts a body on the table, right? Always sorcery speed, but you don't really want your disenchants to be. But if you care about artifacts or whatever, then like maybe this is a guaranteed artifact on the table too. I could see arguing for this. I've said that about a couple cards this week, but not amazing. As far as disenchant effects go, I will give this a 3.9, which is not a terrible score when it comes to cards like this, really. I like a disenchant that you can sort of main deck, right? But did anybody ever do that? Maybe like 3 people on Arena, but for the most part, no. So we'll move on to Multani's Decree from Only Ever Urza's Destiny, but not part of the reserve list. This is 4 mana, 3 and a green, sorcery speed, destroy all enchantments and gain 2 life for each enchantment destroyed this way. Well, it was only 22 cents. Technically worse than Tranquility in terms of the mana cost, right? Tranquility is this exact text box, destroy all enchantments. It's that line of text. But it costs 3 mana. So if you want to spend less, which is often going to be better, right, then Tranquility is where it's at. You also get better art for what it's worth. Sorry, Eric Peterson, but the old school art on Tranquility, moving through that like stream or creek or wherever they are with the sunlight coming out and the trees in the background, it's beautiful, beautiful art. But either way, am I picturing? I think I am picturing it. That's what it looks like in my mind's eye. But Multani's Decree is still good. I'm kind of surprised this has only ever been printed once, and it's still only worth $0.25, and it's an old school card. Like, come on, man. Somebody picked this up. If you're trying to do life gain stuff, this instantly becomes pretty good. The problem is I think some of your life gain stuff might be tied to enchantments that you don't want to destroy. So maybe that's the problem. But either way, dude, I think the card definitely has potential. I think a lot of people are probably seeing it for the first time right now as they watch this video. And, you know, if it gets the old brain juices heating up, then I think maybe it's worth watching this video. It's a cool card. It is. You know, these kind of effects are pretty decent. So I'll give it a 4.6 for being worse than Tranquility, which I would probably give like a 5. It's really 1 point of mana makes a huge difference, but if you're trying to gain life, this becomes great. We'll move on to Spiked Baloth from Magic 2013 and only Magic 2013, illustrated by Darken. Only needs one name. 4 mana, 3 and a green for a 4/2 beast with trample. That's the entire Magic card. That's it. That's what the card does. This is a 1.8. It's really low toughness. Next is Clockspinning. Ooh, Clockspinning from Time Spiral. Tricksy little thing here. A blue mana with an instant for an instant with buyback 3. You may pay an additional 3 when you play the spell. If you do, you put it back into your hand after it resolves. Choose a counter on target permanent or suspended card. Remove that counter from that permanent or put another of those counters on it. This is by Zoltan Boros and Gabriel Zazowski, which I did not say right. Ziskai, something like that. I've never known how to pronounce this person's last name, and I am so sorry, but this is a legendary duo of Magic artists. Either way. Clockspinning's neat, but you really need to set it up, and I think that you're probably not doing much of that in Commander, to be honest. Cool, though, that it doesn't have to, remove stuff from suspended cards specifically. It's just a counter on any permanent. You can kill a Planeswalker with this if the time is right. So, Clockspinning's always been really, really neat. And if you have enough mana, you buy it back a bunch of times and do cool stuff. But ultimately, I don't think it has that much of a place in Commander. It's just kind of a novelty. I'll give it a 1.3 unless I'm missing something. I don't think you're going to see too much of this card. We'll move on to Circle of Protection Shadow from Only Tempest. We're getting a lot of just one-offs in this one. This is 2 mana, 1 and a white for an enchantment. Pay 1, prevent all damage to you from a creature with Shadow. Probably not going to have to worry about that ever, but it is very cool that they printed this card that I will now give a 1 to. 2 1s in the same week. That's super rare. That's about as rare as getting 2 10s in the same week. 2 1s in the same week. This is not the worst Magic card ever printed, but it is not useful in any game almost ever. There's a couple of important black creatures with Shadow in Commander, don't get me wrong, but still, just kill them with a removal spell. This is not... You don't want to resort to this. You're better than that. So we'll move on to Witch Hunter. This is in a different language here, but you may notice that I know the name of the card is Witch Hunter. That's because it's from my favorite set of all time, The Dark. This is 4 mana, 2 and 2 white for a 1/1 hunter. It's actually a human cleric nowadays. You can tap it to deal a damage to a player or planeswalker. You may also pay 1 and 2 white and tap into, and this is cool and very annoying, return target creature an opponent controls to its owner's hand. That doesn't look like much. It is extremely irritating. It's so annoying to have your best guy be the target of Witch Hunter over and over and over. It costs a fair amount of mana to use the ability, and it's going to be worse in a game of Commander where you're up against 3 different people. But in old kitchen table 1v1s, this card was the king of irritants, man. A couple of years later, they would print a card called Tradewind's Rider in Tempest that did a similar kind of thing, returning stuff back to their hand. And that would go on to be, in John Finkel's World Championship deck and stuff. So it's not like effects like this haven't been good in the past, but I don't think Witch Hunter was ever truly good. It's just a card that I've experienced a lot on kitchen tables and I have kind of a memory with, a lot of memories with. So I want to give this the honorable 5. I do. And I think I will. I think I'll do it. Because I'm afraid I'd have to give it worse than that. Much worse than that. But even so, if I had to fairly rate this card, I would still tell you about the ways in which it's good. Obviously, this first ability it's not great. It might as well not be on the card. It's tempting. You think, oh, it's damage. It's not good. But the second ability, there's some real good stuff going on here. I'm telling you, it's not bad. But we'll move on. Move on to Moggcatcher from Nemesis here. And almost only ever Nemesis. This says get a list reprinting, though, because it's $10. and it needs to be reprinted. It's 4 mana. Because look at what this does, guys. 4 mana, 2 and 2 red for a 2/2 mercenary. You can pay 3 and tap it to search your library for a gobbo and put it into play. Shuffle up. Nuts. Just the tutor for a goblin and commander tutor every single turn for a goblin is just busted. And they really ought to reprint this more than just like, oh, here's a list printing. Like, put it in a commander product, you weirdos. Why don't you put it in a goblin deck in commander just that you sell at the card shop or whatever? Do that. But yeah, I was talking about mercenaries earlier on this week and saying that the problem with mercenaries often is that when they go and get other mercenaries, they specifically get mercenaries with less mana cost than theirs. Not this guy. Just go get any goblin. Go get whatever goblin you want and shove it into play. Just crazy. So good, dude. I'm going to give this an 8 in commander. It is that good. Shut up. It is. I'm telling you. Don't come at me with the arguments. This is an 8 in commander. This is one of the better cards in all goblins decks. Because there's so many important goblins in those decks you need to get set up with, and being able to just go get whatever you want is absolutely unnatural. It really is. We ought to do something about it. So we'll move on to Decree of Justice over here. Okay, this card was just kind of there's a take on it in the most recent Magic set. It's a giant vehicle that you can cycle and get a bunch of dudes, right? Well, that's kind of what this is. It's 2x along with 2 and 2 white for a sorcery. So 4 mana at baseline plus 2x. So 6 mana to do anything with this spell if you want to actually cast it out of your hand. Put X 4/4 white angel creature tokens with flying into play. So 6 mana for a 4/4 flyer. 8 mana for 2. 10 mana for 3. But where the card gets interesting, you can cycle it. 2 and a white. 3 mana to cycle this card. And when you do that, you can pay X. If you do, put X 1/1 white soldier creature tokens into play. This card is $10 from Skarrg and 40 cents from a bunch of other sets. So I don't know what's going on there. Just looks really, really cool from Skarrg, maybe? I don't know. I'm not sure. It was in a bunch of World Championship decks, you see, because it was that good. This was in the Astral Slide decks back in the day, which were awesome. If you weren't around for Slide, dude, Slide was such a neat little combo deck. Using a bunch of like dumb, crappy cards that you would never expect to be good shows up at the World Series, baby. The World Championships. Just fun little deck. I miss Slide. I miss Ossip Leibowitz. Do you remember? Anyway, this is this is a fantastic Magic card. It still is good. This is still a usable Magic card, dude. The cycling's really where it's at, but in Commander, obviously, you can engineer some situations like pretty easily where you can pay the 10 mana for this and get a bunch of flyers, a bunch of big flyers, rather. So I'm always going to love Decree. I'm going to give this card a 5.9. Right at, yeah, sure, 5.9. And I will actually end the day at the 12.5-minute mark. Nah, dude. We really should do a random one. Here's a bonus card. It's Chill to the Grave. We just did this one the other day. I get to roll again. Scampire is an uncard. We get to roll again. Unmake from Eventide. This is just exile target creature. Am I right? Have I remembered that correctly? Yeah, it is. So 3 mana, but it's all Orzhov hybrids. So you can pay 3 white, 3 black, white, black, white, black, white, black, whatever for this card. Instant speed, remove a creature from the game. That's all right. You could do so much worse than Unmake, dude. I'm going to have to give this card a 5. I'm just going to give it a solid 5. Exile target creature at instant speed for 3 mana. And it's like a workable mana cost. Yeah. I'll give it a 5. It's a solid Magic card right there, dude. And there's a Kithkin on it. I like Kithkins, you know. Kithkins are cool. I had to say it 3 times because there's still people who are like, what is he saying? Kithkin. A Kithkin, a Kithkin. But anyway, that's our trip through Magic history for today, everybody. I will see you again bright and early tomorrow, Saturday morning. Bye, everybody.